Hello and welcome, I'm Joshua Barnes and you're watching NewsX World. Let's first take a look at our top stories. The Gaza Civil Defense say that 9 people have been killed in an Israeli strike in the north. Hamas has reacted, saying the reported military action is a blatant violation of the truce deal. Meanwhile, the United States has rejected what it calls impractical demands from Hamas as talks over a Gaza ceasefire failed to result in an agreement. UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer says now is the time to apply maximum pressure on Russia as he holds a virtual meeting of 26 world leaders. Starmer also says military leaders will meet on Thursday. Meanwhile, Volodymyr Zelensky says that his forces are not surrounded in the Kursk region, while Russia has announced the recapture of 2 more villages in the border region from Ukraine. The Russian captain of a ship involved in the North Sea crash has appeared in a UK court, charged with gross negligence manslaughter. 59-year-old Vladimir Motin was captain of the Solong, which crashed into a US-flagged oil tanker. Donald Trump's administration is set to issue a second wave of mass firings and budget cuts across the US government. This comes despite 2 federal court rulings ordering the reinstatement of workers. Tens of thousands of Serbians are protesting across the country, many of whom are students, in an anti-government rally. The movement started after a deadly roof collapse in the country last November. And after months stranded on the International Space Station, Butch Wilmore and Sunita Williams are one step closer to returning home. The SpaceX Crew 10 mission has set off for the ISS. According to Gaza's civil defense agency, 9 people, including several journalists, were killed in Israeli strikes in the northern town of Beit Lahia on Saturday. Civil defense spokesman Mahmoud Bassal has said that the 9, including several journalists and a number of workers from the Al-Care organization. The spokesman said the strike was the result of Israel targeting a vehicle with a drone in the town of Beit Lahia, coinciding with artillery shelling on the same area. Hamas accused Israel of a blatant violation of the Gaza ceasefire agreement. Spokesman Hazem Qassem has said in a statement that Israel has committed a horrific massacre in the northern Gaza Strip by targeting a group of journalists and humanitarian workers. This comes after Hamas said that it was ready to free an Israeli-American hostage and return the bodies of 4 others after Hamas and Israel resumed indirect Gaza ceasefire negotiations. However, Israel said that Hamas has not budged following a proposal from US President Donald Trump's Middle East envoy Steve Witkoff. Meanwhile, according to the Lebanese Health Ministry, Israel has also targeted a vehicle, killing 1 person in southern Lebanon. A November 27th truce largely halted more than a year of hostilities between Hezbollah and Israel. Joining us to discuss these latest developments is Ahmed Fatou, who's a spokesperson for the Fatah movement, who joins us from Palestine. Thank you very much for your time, Ahmed. The first thing I want to look at is this reported drone attack that has killed 9 people apparently. Can I just first of all get your reaction to that?
This proves yet again that Israel is after killing and a genocide. You know, killing 9 civilians, among them are relief workers and journalists, is a crime against humanity no matter what. And Israel is continuing its intent of killing and targeting civilians, disregarding any pressure from the international community or the international law or the basic moral of conduct in wars. Israel is deliberately suffocating and subjugating the Palestinian people, trying to push them out from their lands in their aims to push for an ethnic cleansing campaign to ethnically cleanse 2 million Palestinians from Gaza, as well as millions from the West Bank, to bring their greater Israel, the colonial scheme. It is catastrophic that that's such a rogue state that's killing shooting and massacring people for the past 15 months on top of the 76 years of occupation and colonization and apartheid. In addition, they are bombing in Lebanon just today and occupying lands in Syria. What is this? This is a rogue state that is terrorizing the entire region. 22 Arab states has offered Israel a peace treaty in 2002 called the Arab Peace Initiative. Palestinian people accepted the two-state solution, which gives the Palestinians 22% of their historical lands, our lands that we have been ethnically cleansed from in the 1948. What Israel's response? Israel met that generosity, that peace, with further oppression, subjugation, killing, massacring, and settler terrorism. And what you see now in Gaza is the greatest example. Despite the ceasefire, despite the global pressure, even after the UN report of their intent for genocide, they continue to kill civilians for no reason, basically, just to kill.
Ahmed, I want to look at a report that has come out from UNICEF talking about the conditions, as you've mentioned, in Gaza. They say 1 in 3 people aged under 2 years old, children below 2, are suffering from acute malnutrition. What is needed at this point for those who are suffering in Gaza?
What is needed is what was needed since 1948. It's a global pressure immediately for Israel to stop. This is criminality. This is brutality. We are in 2025. They are behaving as if we are in the dark ages. Where's the world? Where's the United Nations? Where's the Security Council? Where's the United States? The United States that fight for liberties, for freedom, for civil rights, are supporting and funding the major violator of human rights in the world. Amnesty International, Human Rights Watch, B'Tselem, even Israeli human rights organization. Every human rights organization you would think of has issued a detailed documentation and reports of Israel violation to human rights as stipulated in their mentality, in their governance, in their army action, in their military action. What is the response from the Western governments? That's what the question. We are powerless. We are defenseless. The Palestinian people are defenseless. We don't have an army. We don't have tax. We don't have any power to repel this aggression against us for the past 76 years. But the question that should be raised, for how long the world is going to be silent about these crimes against humanity? Where are we going from this? Even in terms of, if you want to think about it in just mere interests, political interests without any morality in it, what's the interest in the United States of America for this unconditional support standing behind a state that is terrorizing the entire region, that is an enemy for the entire Arab region because of their terrorism against the Palestinians, terrorism against Lebanese, terrorism against Syrians? This is going to only lead us to explosion. What is the benefit of erupting the entire Middle East? Because one state just wants to occupy and colonize without respecting the international law. That would retaliate for the entire world. That means that there is not going to be peace for decades forward, and a crisis that will be economical, humanitarian. It will affect the Europeans with the spike in refugee crisis. When the President of France states, market an idea of ethnic cleansing 2 million human beings, that needs from the entire world to stand up. Where are we going from here?
Ahmed, we mentioned in the lead up to our discussion that we're having, of course, that these ceasefire negotiations, indirect ceasefire negotiations, have been going on the sidelines. The US has rejected what it calls Hamas making unrealistic and impractical demands about this ceasefire. Is there a turning point here potentially, do you think, for the people, the Palestinian people living in Gaza, looking at Hamas and thinking that they could be doing more to end the current situation that many of them find themselves in?
Well, I'm not fully aware what is the talks between Hamas and Americans. You need to bring a Hamas spokesperson to speak about that. But anyway, killing civilians and shooting people for fun, if you just have watched recently a video of Israeli soldiers shooting at Gaza because of some religious holiday joke, that need to stop. Whatever is Hamas saying, whatever is Israel saying, this need to stop. Israel is an occupation. Now, there was a ceasefire, and what we have here, that this ceasefire is going to be in 3 stages. To everyone, it's Israel that stopped that ceasefire deal, this truce deal. They don't want to go to phase two. And everyone, every politician, everyone who is just following up, Netanyahu wants to continue this war. It's pretty obvious. Netanyahu is a war criminal convicted by his own country for corruption cases, hundreds of corrupted cases, as well as wanted for the ICC. This is a man that is going to do everything not to stop, but not to stop the war and lose his power. And he's giving every concession for the far-right extremists in Israel, for the settler terrorism. So we are talking about a man, he's a criminal. First of all, let's bring a peaceful horizon. The United States of America need to stop all military action, all of it. And let's bring the Palestinians. Let's sit with the Palestinians as much as they sat with the Israelis. They sat with Netanyahu. They heard from him. Hear from the Palestinians, from the legitimate authority, from the PLO, from the President Mahmoud Abbas. Then you can hear both sides of the story and see what proposals has been put forward. The Arab made a plan. Entire Arab has been also that plan approved by the Islamic countries, as well as the most of EU, I believe all of EU. Where is America from that? Why they don't want to put peace forward? Where are we going from that? Endless expansion by Israel, in this terrorism against Palestinians, in the subjugation of Palestinians, for how long? 76 years of occupation? What they want? We have to sit clearly and to think in a very reasonable manner how to solve and to bring a comprehensive political solution. And that can be done when we first of all, bring the peace environment.
Ahmed, to bring an end to this discussion, Israeli officials, Israeli experts that we have on this show say that following the October 7th attacks, what Israel want is the hostages back, and they want Hamas out of Gaza and away from any potential future attack. Looking forward and looking to a potential future of peace, how do you think that is achievable?
We already achieved that, in fact. Hamas has declared they don't want to govern Gaza. I don't know where the Israelis are getting their news. It has been declared for several times already. The Arabs' plan of reconstructing Gaza has stated clearly that there will be a governance by a technocratic government, which exists right now in the West Bank, which is the official government of Palestine. That government will go to Gaza and govern Gaza and prepare the atmosphere until we go for a further elections after 2 or 3 years, and democratic elections like we had in 2006, like we had in 1996, and to rebuild Gaza and to go for the two-state solution. So that point has been covered. The second point, sorry, what you have said, they want Hamas to go down from power, and what else?
Yes, so Israel are looking to make sure that Hamas aren't able to strike again like they did on October the 7th.
All right, based on that point, when we have a two-state solution, that ends all the struggle. That's what we have been saying since 1993. We have signed Oslo, and we as a PLO, as a Fatah movement, who led the revolution since 1965, signed a peace treaty and accepted 22% of our land in return for peace, and we stopped the armed struggle. Israel met that peace with destruction of peace. Who assassinated Rabin? In 1995, it's Israel DB state that assassinated Rabin, and Netanyahu has been inciting against Rabin at that time and has some links to that assassination, we believe. So Netanyahu is killing peace. Netanyahu is saying to the entire world, I have succeeded in not allowing the Palestinian state to take place. So he is a man against peace, obviously. How are we going to achieve security and peaceful atmosphere and zero threats when a military occupation is stepping in our throats for the past 76 years? It's not just an October 7 issue. This is before October 7. How is peace can achieve?
Ahmed, I'm really sorry to interrupt, but unfortunately we are out of time. Thank you very much for your insight. The situation in Gaza is one that we will keep following and bringing you all of the updates on. We now move to Europe, and tens of thousands of protesters gathered in Belgrade on Saturday for what could be the largest anti-corruption rally in Serbia in months, sparked by a deadly roof collapse at a railway station in Novi Sad last November, which killed 14 people. The protests have grown, with demonstrators blaming corruption for the tragedy. As protests grow, the movement's demands for accountability and transparent institutions continue to challenge the government's authority, with many hoping to see systematic change. Despite the mounting pressure, Vučić has rejected calls for his resignation, declaring that no one will force him out of office. This is what he said.
Dakle, država Srbija preduzeće sve neophodne mere da se obezbedi mir. Oni koji budu narušavali mir biće uhapšeni i strogo kažnjeni. Samo da bude potpuno jasno da ne pristajem na ucene, ne pristajem na pritiske. Ja sam predsjednik Srbije. I neću da dozvolim da ulica određuje pravila u ovoj zemlji i neću da dozvolim da ulica određuje katastrofalnu budućnost za ovu zemlju.
Well, joining us to discuss these protests is Sasha Dobrjevic, a Serbian diplomatic journalist who is joining us from Belgrade. Sasha, thank you very much for your time. Why are people protesting, and what are they asking for?
Just need to went to some kind of small street because it's so loud on the Belgrade streets. Yes, and people want to make some kind of change because they saw that institutions are not working anymore properly. I mean, in a way, they said that they don't work at all. Yesterday we have the government cancel all bus and train lines, so people can't come to Belgrade to show up their will and to make the biggest epic protest in the history of Serbia, of course. Yes, they need to make institutions work, and yeah, you can see you can see the people are very happy. The people are very, they are smiling. They are making big noise, and yes, overall, when that happened yesterday, so when they cancel all bus lines and train lines, I make public call as a diplomatic journalist from Serbia to address this problem, so that we have really big issue that Serbia is in kind of prison because they are making, they cancel all that bus and train lines, so people couldn't come here. But people are amazing, they are organized themselves, and I addressed that to international community. I addressed to Reporters Without Borders. Yeah, you can see that loud people on the street, students and citizens as well. So I addressed that problem to Reporters Without Borders, European Commission, United Nations, and United Nations for Human Rights did react, and they make a public call to Serbian government to allow this democratic and peaceful protest in Belgrade. It is very loud. I don't have so much time, but yes, the point is that they are asking for institutions to work. Nobody knows what will happen after the protest. I mean, the people are on the streets. That's the fact. And students got all credits from people. We have they are walking through the Serbia from city to city, as I said before. But this is something epic in Belgrade today, and we are expecting that we can. We have some few points that students are gathering, and then we are going to meet all these protesters are meeting at assembly. So that's it for now. And yes, we can see a lot of people, and I guess the media from the world are helping as well. They are reporting objectively from here, and that's a good thing.
Sasha, thank you for finding a quiet street in a few minutes to give us these updates from the protests. We move from Europe to North America, and in a fiery speech at the Justice Department, Donald Trump has launched a strong attack on his perceived enemies. He threatened to expose those involved in prosecuting him and issuing directives against his administration. President Trump named key figures including Andrew Weissman, Jack Smith and Norm Eisen. He accused them of abuse and misconduct without specifying exact crimes beyond opposition to his leadership. Trump also took aim at the media, particularly CNN and MSDNC, calling them corrupt and illegal for their negative coverage. He then criticised them as political arms of the Democratic Party. The US president further alleged the media's bias as a direct threat to his presidency. In another significant claim, Trump accused the Biden administration of weaponizing the Justice Department, turning it into an injustice department, in his words. He alleged the 2020 election was rigged and promised to jail those responsible. He also boasted about pardoning January the 6th rioters and criticised the FBI for misdirecting resources during the Capitol insurrection investigation. Let's have a look at Trump's speech.
And I believe that CNN and MSDNC, who literally write 97.6% bad about me, are political arms of the Democrat Party. And in my opinion, they're really corrupt and they're illegal. What they do is illegal. It makes no difference how big a victory I had. I can have the biggest victory in history. It makes no difference what kind of a failure the other side has. These people are going to go after me.
Well, joining us to discuss these waves coming from Donald Trump and the United States is Daniel Wagner, the CEO of Country Risk Solutions, who joins us from Portland, Oregon, United States. Daniel, thank you very much for your time. What we're seeing is unprecedented. Only twice have former presidents gone to the Department of Justice. How unprecedented really is this move from Trump?
Well, you're absolutely right to say it is unprecedented. The very idea that he would be using the bully pulpit from inside the Justice Department to basically say he's going to go out and demonize and pursue his political enemies for no crimes. The very idea that a network like MSNBC, it's not DNC, he said DNC as in Democratic National Committee. The idea that MSNBC would be, he wants to put them out of business simply because they criticize what he does. That's something that happens in a dictatorship. That's something that happens in a banana republic. There are many people in America who are absolutely shocked every day at the things that he's doing. Many of them are unprecedented. Many of them are contrary to the rule of law. Many of them are even contrary to the Constitution of the United States. The big issue, I think, is not so much that Trump is being Trump, because that's what he's doing here, but that no Republicans are standing up to him, objecting to this. And I say this not only in the context of the Department of Justice, but in the context of the many other things that he's doing in terms of eviscerating the federal government and doing these mass deportations without due process of law. I think there will come a time, hopefully, when some people in the Republican Party will say, this cannot stand. What he's doing could easily be done by a Democratic president who would never do that, of course. And my hope is that some of them will develop a moral compass and a spine and stand up and say, what you're doing is not right. You know, if I was a Republican legislator in the Congress, I would fall on the sword. I would say, I don't want to have a future political career, but as long as I'm in the Congress, I'm going to prevent you from doing what you're doing. Unfortunately, none of them are doing that.
Yes, Daniel, and for our audience, can you explain what the significance of the Department of Justice is and how Trump's words and Trump's actions will be different to what we've seen before?
Well, what the Department of Justice is supposed to be is the epitomization of the rule of law. And Pam Bondi, who is the head of that organization now, she had basically said that during her interviews for the job that she would absolutely adhere to the rule of law. She's not doing that. And I don't think that anyone is really surprised. But what should happen is that nothing but the rule of law, nothing but the Constitution of the United States would govern what the Department of Justice is doing. They are not supposed to be weaponized to go after a politician's enemies. And that's exactly what he's doing.
Daniel, Trump's also attacked the media. What impact could this have on, of course, not just the influence of the media, but also the people? We know that media is, of course, subjective and there is different allegiances, but specifically picking out a couple of networks, how influential could that be on people's opinions, but also those networks themselves?
This is all about checks and balances. And the media is the ultimate check and balance in America, right? I mean, it's supposed to be the rule of law and the Constitution, but the ones who make sure that the rule of law and the Constitution are enforced, it should be the government, but ultimately it's the media. And so this idea of attacking the media is totally consistent with the evisceration of these norms and these standards and these rule of law approaches that have been done in the past and the way it's supposed to be done, of course. So if that check and balance is removed, then what is left? There's nothing left. So this is the biggest concern, I think, among the media, among many people in America right now, is that there will be no checks and balances left.
Yes, Trump also attacking the Biden administration. Of course, we know he's made these comments before, but do you think there will be any ramifications from the words that he said? Of course, we know Joe Biden didn't pardon himself, instead choosing to pardon members of his family. Is there a risk to Joe Biden, given how provocative Trump is being with the language he's using? The word weaponizing has been used by Trump in this speech.
Well, of course, Trump accused the Biden administration of weaponizing the Justice Department against him, which is why he's doing all of this. He feels like he's the victim, except when the Department of Justice went after him, they went after him for crimes that he committed. And of course, we all know that he was definitely proven to have committed many, many crimes. So the question in my mind is, what crimes did Biden commit, and can he prove it? Does he have to prove it? The way Trump operates is he doesn't worry about rule of law and what the Constitution says. He does what he wants to do, and if no one is going to object to what he's doing in the Congress, he steamrolls right ahead. Is there a risk for Joe Biden that he may ultimately be prosecuted in the same manner by Trump? Sure. I don't think that's going to disappear for the next 4 years.
And Daniel, to bring an end to this discussion, we know how Trump has behaved since becoming president for the second time. He says something, and more often than not, he carries that out. Looking at the action and the words that he said in the last 24 hours or so, is this a continuation of that trajectory? And where do you think that could leave the American people in the long term?
No, that's a really good question. We're so far in uncharted territory that the truth is nobody knows where this is going to end up. But my guess is that what we've all known America to be for the last 250 or so years is going to be unrecognizable. Look at everything that has happened in just 2 months' time, how America has gone from an economy that's the envy of the world to now economists talking about a serious recession right around the corner. How do you do that in 2 months? If he's capable of doing that in just 2 months, imagine what he's capable of doing in 4 years. I shudder when I think about it.
Daniel Wagner, thank you ever so much, as always, for your time and for your insights. Trump continues to make headlines. We will be here with all of those. But for now, we're moving on, and that's all we have time for. We will continue, of course, to bring you all of the latest international news very soon.